Transition Awareness Breathing. Feeling grounded for both children and parents is essential for healthy living and learning. Join Eartha Powell on this series for tips and tools for creating a harmonious environment for learning. Transition Awareness Breathing will help you and your child find an individualized path to tackle change, promote lifelong learning, and discover new approaches to calmness.
Welcome back to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. And Kita is going to give us a little bit of a review of what she has noticed as far as the changes in children coming to her program over the past few years.
In which we teach kids, like when we have kindergarten kids that are coming to learn coding, we still teach them. A chunk of our lesson still focuses on phonics. And, yes, you're going to use phonics even in our coding class. But instead of writing that or instead of putting it in a book, you're going to then use it towards keyboarding skills. So we are still focusing on what the kindergartners need. Our attention is we're not by any means taking away, but we are just trying to bridge that gap between this is important and your keyboarding skills are also important. How you hold a mouse is also important, but we're going to try to combine the two. So that's where that's what I want to keep my focus as an educator, as a business owner, that we can't let go of certain things and expect that just because we are advancing with stuff that we'll catch up and we'll be fine. We have to hold on to some traditional ways. They were meant for a reason. Yes. And that will, the way, like you would know more about it, but the way the kids' brains are wired and the processing time they need, we can't let go of that just because technology requires everything to be fast-paced.
Have you noticed any differences as the children are coming in as far as their soft skills? Are they fully developed before where they're at their age? Or have you noticed any differences?
The biggest difference I see from when I used to be a kindergarten teacher, like even 5 years ago and 10 years ago, and now kindergarten kids, is they're very result driven and they want to see stuff fast. Like in one lesson, they want their game to be fully functional. In one lesson, they want their YouTube video to be like, oh, this is a cool YouTube video I made. And that, like, because in technology, they see the results faster and they can see it right there on the screen versus a few years ago, it was handwritten. You had to edit it and then you had to edit it and then you saw the final product. So I think that reminding them of like being persistent, being patient, that's a change that I notice, even in my own kid.
Those soft, patient and persistent.
Being persistent and patient. So we always go back and give them real life examples of big multinational gaming companies like Minecraft and Roblox. Like it wasn't built in a day. And those programmers, those game designers, the games that you guys play on a daily basis, like Nintendo Switch, wasn't made in a day. And we show them all the videos of like, all these versions and the next version is coming, the next version, the amount of time it took them. And we show them those realistic videos of the hours and hours of work and hours of things not working happens. And each thing that doesn't work and each line of code that doesn't work, that is progress. So we don't jump in and give them the answer like, hey, you missed this comma in your code, or, that code should have been orange, or that code should have been in caption, or that letter should have been uppercase. That's why your code is not working. We keep probing them with questions and they continue to get frustrated, but we want them to figure out things because it's easy to copy something and whatever the teacher is modeling, to copy that and say, hey, I created it, but did they really get the essence of it? So that's what we kind of are persistent with the kids too, that it's okay. And you're going to leave this class and we are okay with the kids leaving the class and telling parents, I couldn't do it. I can't do this. But come back. And then the day you get it and the day it's done, you are going to feel more proud of yourself than anybody else. So that's what we have to kind of stick with it.
So I think I have found a bridge between your program and Transition Awareness Breathing or Mindfulness.
it's the interpretation of mistakes. We make mistakes. It's okay.
Yep.
Because that's how we learn. And when we make mistakes, in mindfulness, there's no judgment. In my class, especially the first half of the class, as I was explaining, the first program, I usually go over basic skills.
Mm-hmm.
But the first thing I always try to help the children understand is, I pass out a pencil and I pass out an eraser. And I ask them, what are these for?
Mm-hmm.
And they look at me like, what do you mean what is this for? If we make a mistake, we erase it, of course. Now remember that. It's not the end of the world. It's a learning. When someone is playing the piano, they don't come out playing the piano smooth. And when we go to these concerts, or when you hear the pianist or the violinist or whoever, they see the final product, but they don't see what goes on, the hours and the hard work. Maybe that sometimes that kind of frightens the children, because they think they have this negative self-talk. I can't be as good as so-and-so, or I don't think I can make a game just like Roblox.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, if I could erase that negative self-talk, because I would agree, you're not going to make a game like Roblox. You're going to make something better, because you are you.
Yeah.
And it's a total different generation. It's like my tap friends, don't look at yourself comparing to other people, because you are you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's important.
Yes. As far as when you have that child,
mm-hmm.
or the parents,
mm-hmm.
and maybe they weren't successful,
mm-hmm.
How do you handle the disappointments and maybe judgments?
Yep. Okay, that's all right. Okay. So our big focus in the way we teach is project-based learning. And I think more and more educational institutes are adopting project-based learning because it is more in-depth and meaningful, and it gives the students a lot of ownership of what they are learning, and they are in charge of their own path. So that's what we try to mimic in the classrooms, and the way these classrooms are set up is giving kids the ownership instead of having a traditional, for the lack of a better word, like teacher being in the dictator position where the teacher does stuff and then the students mimic what the teacher is doing, which up to a certain extent, like learning certain raw skills like mathematical facts, that is important. But when it comes time to make their own projects and what they want to do, it's passed on to, I'm more of a facilitator and you are in charge of your own learning. And that, because of the way things are set up and because of how our curriculum unfolds, that transition from the teacher being in charge of, this is what we're going to do, these are the skills that we're going to learn today, here is my sample project. The second part of our class turns into a skills lab, which is when there's that instant switch between, now it's your time, I'm the facilitator. So I think that transition is very important. And once they do that, like all kids, if there are 8 students in the class, they've all learned the same thing in that day. They've all listened to the same set of skills. They've all watched the teacher show the same presentation. But when it's their work time, now they're in charge of their learning. They're given a criteria. They're making their own unique project using those skills and how they interpret the skills. So instead of making a student that hasn't quite understood a few concepts that were taught, forcing them to like then go ahead and work on something that they still don't get is not fair. Versus in the same classroom, there's a child that got the concepts spot on right away, want to take it above and beyond. They shouldn't be held back from what they want to show and present. So that skills lab is a safe place for the kids to then show their projects and presentations. in however they want to present and see fit. So we are definitely trying to push kids and challenge them, but in a safe place. So even the kids, when they're then presenting their projects at the end, they feel confident that it's okay that my work doesn't look like somebody else's, because that was the expectation set. So that's how we build that confidence in the kids. And we tell them that everybody's project is unique. And everybody's project, we always tell kids when they give peer feedback, like, pay close attention to what that child is presenting and tell them one good thing, one unique thing you noticed, and tell them one thing they can use to make it better. So it's very interesting to see kids when they first don't know each other and day one. They have a long list of things the other child should do to make it better.
Yes.
But they're struggling to tell them the one good thing because they want to one-up.
Yeah.
But when they consistently keep coming, or even in a week-long class when we have camps, the transition of peer feedback from Monday to Friday is amazing.
Wow.
Like by Friday, they're encouraging each other before the parents are about to come and now they have to show it to the parents. They're encouraging each other and they're clapping and cheering on for each other, and they're jumping from one seat to another when somebody gets stuck to go help them.
Amazing.
And that doesn't happen like in a day.
Amazing.
So that's it. It has to happen over time. But just consistently providing them that extrinsic environment that's conducive to do that, that is important. That plays a big role.
You create the environment.
It's they watch how the teacher gives feedback. They watch how the teachers talk to each other. They watch how the teachers go from one class to another and ask for help. And they see these teachers
modeling.
as experts. But that's always there. They watch how teachers encourage each other, and they're competitive, but also collaborative at the same time. So we are very mindful of that. And that's a big part of our training. So that, making that environment, creating that environment and that culture is very important.
Wow. Now, what about the grown-ups?
Definitely, parents definitely want to see their kids grow. And when a child is at a school, or, even in programs like ours for a while, sorry about that. And they trust their child with us to be here for 40 hours a week in summer, and then 2 hours on a weekly lesson. Like, they drop off, it's a drop off class. At the end of class, when the child leaves, including mine, the first thing I ask when I pick him up from any class is, what did you learn? Yeah. Or what did you do in school today? And the amount of skills they learn, and depending on the child's age, like even older kids, sometimes it's hard to say stuff. And the generic response, because parents have a lot of follow-up questions.
Yes.
The generic response is, I don't know, or nothing.
Okay, so it's just not me.
Okay. So what we try to do is we try to incorporate like a simple email, maybe 4 sentences, that this is what we did today. This was our skills lab. Here are some questions you can ask your kid. And then here are some pictures.
That's great.
So before the kids get into the classroom, like if my kid goes to piano. I know nothing about piano or music, but my child is interested and I want to encourage that. So I send him to piano. So when I ask him, what did you do? He says, I don't know. I played something. But when his teacher gives me these questions, like, we learned about this note, or we played this song, or we practiced the whole like music notes together, and our recital is coming up, and this, I have some context to then continue that conversation. So when I ask him those specific questions, then he's spot on and he jumps in, and he just needs that one thing. So that's how we kind of keep the parents in the loop too. And then just like kids present to each other and have peer feedback, parents come to those presentations too. And before they head to the kids' classrooms, we sit with the parents and we let them know about this. This is project-based learning, and every kid's project is unique. So it's not like we're comparing. It's not like kids are showing the same Eclipse is on my mind. So the same Eclipse project.
Yes, yes.
And then you can really distinguish which one is the best and which one is not. No, they all have their different websites. They all have their different games.
Yeah.
So it's easier for parents to then see how much progress their kid has made.
I think it's great how you're giving the parents the feedback, and they feel included, and it properly helps them kind of get feedback that their children are succeeding at whatever level that they are at. I was wondering in the back of my mind, how do you handle, or do you go into or is it a part of the curriculum about unhealthy behavior as far as gaming and technology, addiction, from a health perspective? I know I'm very interested in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Screen time is absolutely a big concern for parents, including me, and limiting screen time is definitely important for kids. The way we teach kids is that majority of our instructors come from computer science background. They're in colleges like UTSA and Northwest Vista. They have computer science background, and they've gone through all the gaming stages and owning devices. And they're also young to where they know what's coming. They know the actual lingo, the way, kids talk these days. They are really good mentors in letting kids know that the pros and cons of technology in a very kid-friendly way. So when our instructor tells a student, let's take an example, my kid comes here for a game design class and has a Nintendo at home, and we limit the amount of time he can play, and I don't know what are good games versus what are not okay games for his age, so I lean on the instructors to navigate that. They give my kid a list of, this is your homework, this is what you can do, this will not take more than 30 minutes. And they go over things like, you have to stay consistent with one game. You cannot keep asking to buy different games because then you lose your focus. And even in gaming and even in esports, you have to, just like you play sports, you kind of have to keep playing the same thing and build your knowledge of that, and build your hand-eye coordination and build your reflexes. So as a parent, all we see is my kid is just playing and is glued to that. But there's a lot when these instructors explain it to me, like he's building hand-eye coordination. He's maintaining his team. He is losing so many games, and he's building his internal frustration. And here are the words I've asked him to use when he's frustrated versus using words like what kids say, and we don't accept those words when they're frustrated. So there's a lot of social emotional in allowing some screen time and playing those games as well. And I didn't see it that way until these teachers told me and showed me what it is. So I think when parents get a chance to kind of sit down and talk to somebody that has an amazing career and also played so many games, it changes the perspective and it changes how we think. So that parent education is important. But by no means I'm saying that, allow your kids to play games all day. Yeah. But allow them, like it's important to build on their interests and allowing them game time and screen time.
I think that when you mentioned the instructors mentioned this will only take 30 minutes, and not 4 hours or 8 hours, I think past a certain time limit, they've ventured into the world of, why are you there? But I think that's very helpful, to set a limit and allow them to build up those skills, those internal self-calming skills, and you just can't become an expert in a day. No matter, you can be on there for more than 30 minutes. It's not going to get any better. You've got to give the brain rest and
processing time.
Yes. Well, thank you so much. What words or final words of wisdom would you like to end our interview and our time with to the listeners?
There's a lot.
Okay.
But what I would say is just take notice of what kids are interested in technology, and try to find something related to technology that will be meaningful and helpful in their life. Whether it's YouTube, I know kids watch YouTube videos all the time, but there is a way to turn that interest into an educational aspect, like podcasts. That's a big part. And our YouTube kids, we spend about a month helping them write scripts for their podcasts. And writing that script includes so many reading and writing skills, which in a traditional setting, they won't like doing it. But because it's for their YouTube channel, they'll do it. So use technology to, to that advantage, and like, don't just shut kids down. That's the big thing I've learned with this business, that if you navigate it the right way, it can be a big asset for kids, because there's so much behind the scenes. Like, there's so much of dealing with frustrations, dealing with emotions when it comes to technology, because technology is not a person. It's not going to listen to you. So in fact, there's more frustration in navigating technology. So give your kids the tools, or find them a mentor that can give them tools to navigate that.
Thank you so much. I learned a lot. And, when we are educated and we learn, that in itself decreases frustration. We're not perfect, and we know that these youngsters are going to, in the blink of an eye, our children are going to be graduating from college. And everything is so important. Each little segment that they're learning, and who knows what we'll be doing 10, 20 years from now. But I thank you so much for iCode and coordinating young college professionals to mentor their expertise to the next generation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Gupta.
You're welcome.
Be sure and pick up a copy of Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's not just an ordinary coloring book. It features 23 illustrations to stimulate thought, relaxation, and creativity for anyone between the ages of 4 and 94. Increase your positive self-talk energy, unlock new creative paths, transform your time once or twice a week to create beautiful art while strengthening confidence, building positive self-talk, and sensitize self-awareness. Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's available now at Amazon.com.